They got a quarterback problem. He's extremely skittish. Here we go again.
Skittish in the pocket.
I remember this back from 2007. Skittish. And I'm telling you, he looks nervous. The offensive line did not have a great game, as we all saw. Hernandez had a horrific game. Nate Solder was having a hell of a time with Jason Pierre-Paul.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna sit here and say that I thought it was going to be easy. It's never easy. An NFL game's hard to win, and I know that, especially when you're in the midst of having just another miserable year and you have absolutely no confidence. And I had to hear Joe Judge last night after the game. I just had to hear what he had to say. Sounds to me like somebody's losing a job. Sounds like somebody like Jason Garrett's going to end up either being reassigned or kicked out of the building.
He basically said it. I mean, he said it without saying it.
Right, and look, I'm not one of these advocates that are screaming and yelling about firing coaches and all that other stuff. I just try to give perspectives of situations that I found myself in throughout my career, and I like to think that I'm pretty accurate when I assess what a coach may say or what a player may say or what a player looks like on the field. And a couple things here, they were healthy. You said it. They were healthy. And there were guys open. There were I don't know what Daniel Jones is thinking. I really don't. And if I were him, turn off any social media. Don't listen to the radio. Don't read, as Coach Cowher likes to say, the papers. It's not going to be pretty. Eli Manning's been in this situation or was in this situation at one point in time. You are now in that situation because, there are now huge question marks as to whether or not you are the guy going forward. You could be the greatest guy in practice. You could be the greatest preparer. You could be the greatest teammate there ever was. But when you get out on the field, you have to be able to lead your team, and you have to make special plays. You make one special play, and if you don't make any special plays and you turn the ball over the way that he did, and you have a 4th and 1 play call, I don't even know what that was by Jason Garrett. There is a huge problem between the quarterback and the offense coordinator. I'm not saying they have personal problems with each other. I'm just telling you that
it's not working.
It doesn't look like anything's working anybody has an understanding of what they're trying to do. Now, I've been in situations where my play was reflective of, first, me. I would say me. I would have to be the one that would have to be vastly improved. But then also, I'm stuck in a system where I'm not. They don't know who I am. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing in that system. And I don't know what to tell you about Daniel Jones. There were times last night where he should have made throws, and he didn't.
I'll give you one. I think they pointed out on the broadcast, too. I was going back and forth, Manning broadcast and regular broadcast. And on the Manning broadcast, they use the regular broadcast feed. So if someone's circling something on the regular broadcast, it means they're talking about it. So it was the drive that led to their only field goal of the night. And Daniel Jones drops back, has plenty of time, ends up looking left, throws this pass to Kadarius Toney right before the end zone. And then right down the middle of the field, there's a wide open receiver. And Brian Griese circled it and said, this is where the ball has to go.
Yeah, I do appreciate Brian Griese because he'll tell you.
And there's stuff like that happens every week with him.
Yeah, and it's really a problem. It's a huge problem now because, you make him he's a first-round draft choice, man. He and Saquon Barkley both. I mean, these are the picks that are supposed to be the foundational picks of your team moving forward.
You think that there's questions that have to, or major questions? To me, the questions have been answered. I'm sorry. The questions have been...
Yeah, but the problem is they still have 7 games left or 6 games left, whatever it is.
All right, so then fire the offensive coordinator, see if it changes, and Daniel Jones all of a sudden...
7 games left, actually.
There's 14 Jets and Giants games combined left.
Yeah, that's true. And look, I know, and we all know that they were stepping into a tough spot, much like, the Jets were stepping into a tough spot against Buffalo a couple weeks back. We know that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the defending champions. I didn't think they looked all that sharp. I mean, I know they went right down the field the first series, but after that, it was kind of like, this is the Tampa team that we have been seeing over the last couple of years. The ball goes right off of Mike Evans' hands. They get great field position. They end up scoring a touchdown, and that was great. But it's like when they get down in the red zone, all of a sudden the penalties start happening. You know what that is? That's just a quarterback that's not leading his team. When you're down there, you got to be you can't be amped up. You have to be the one that has to be the calming influence around everybody, talking to everybody, making it. You see when Brady's up there at the line of scrimmage, he's pointing, okay, guys, 48's the mic, get moving there, Leonard or Lenny, whatever he calls Leonard Fournette. And he's just basically communicating up there. There's no panic, there's no nothing. And even when he plays bad games, he's still doing the same thing. I mean, there's no herky-jerky motion in the pocket. By the way, I think I tweeted this out in the first quarter. There's absolutely no pass rush whatsoever from the Giants. And I know exactly what Patrick Graham was doing. He was trying to recreate what he did to Patrick Mahomes.
Sure.
Just keep everything in front of us. Now, the second half was a little bit different. I think Joe Judge probably wanted to say to him, look, man, we got to hit him once or twice.
We got to get to him.
We got to get after him.
And I don't know if you saw the Bill Parcells interview with Peyton Manning and Eli Manning, and I've been hot and cold in some of the interviews, like the Kevin Hart thing is choppy and terrible, and sometimes when they get these guys on there, it's supposed to be funny, it doesn't end up working in that format. But Parcells is sitting there, and Peyton Manning. I mean, two guys who obviously, Hall of Famers. We're talking, guys that are legends, and they're saying you can't win if you can't get to the quarterback. And Bill Parcells is saying there's two things that I would do in this situation. I try to bust right up the middle and try to make them uncomfortable, or I would get the corners to disrupt the routes and get right up on the wide receivers to mess with his timing. And the Giants aren't doing either one of those things, and Tom's sitting back there having a field day.
Yeah, this creates an enormous problem for the coaching staff. It creates an enormous problem for the Mara family. Because all the Giants, many Giant fans were probably watching that broadcast.
And you got Eli Manning, Bill Parcells, then Peyton Manning talking about all the problems that they have.
It's and when Coach Parcells is talking openly about the game and saying what he was saying last night, I saw snippets of it. That puts an enormous amount of pressure on Joe Judge. I can't even begin to tell you the level of intensity now that is going to be on Joe Judge starting today. And I'm sure it started last night after the game. But, once people hear what Parcells is talking about, because he's beloved here, once they hear what Peyton and Eli are talking about, because, well, at least Eli's beloved here, maybe not so much Peyton, depending on who you talk to, whether it's a Jet fan or a Giant fan. But, the fact still remains they know what they're talking about. And then, of course, Brian Griese knows what he's talking about last night, too.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the one doing the circle, and he's the one that's telling you that this is what's not going on. This is where you got to make this throw. He overthrew, I think, Slayton on the left sideline. And, Brian Griese goes, look, man, that's about as easy a throw as you have in the NFL. And you throw that throw in practice 50 times. And you should be able to do that in your sleep with your eyes closed. And these are problems. So you have yourself a skittish quarterback. You have an offense coordinator that's going to most likely be on the chopping block, I would say. And you have a head coach that's going to be under intense pressure, and a defense that can't muster any pass rush pressure whatsoever.
Well, they don't have any players to do so. I mean, that's really the problem. If you want to talk about failures of Dave Gettleman, that's got to be near the top of the list, that they have not been able to produce anybody that is close to being a legitimate, consistent threat at getting at the quarterback. Leonard Williams last year did it. This year, he's not doing it. Now, a couple weeks ago when we were talking about Jason Garrett, you thought that it wasn't fair to move on from Jason Garrett. Do you feel differently this morning about making a change?
I just what I see is a disjointed team. I don't know what the hell Saquon Barkley's doing. I
mean, he's the non-factor. I mean, we talk about this guy like he matters. He doesn't matter.
Well, he does matter because he was a second overall pick.
Well, not anymore. He doesn't matter anymore.
I understand that, but it's still a part of. He's still a part of the team, and like the thing about it is, I try not to be too personal about any of this stuff because I like all these guys. I mean, there's no reason not to like them other than you got to judge them on the performance that you see on Sunday or Monday night in this case. And last night's performance was pathetic. It was pathetic offensively. Nate Solder's over there, doing like a ballerina twirl as Jason Pierre-Paul's running around them.
Yeah.
You have Hernandez holding and offsides and nervousness. And look, Tampa Bay's a good team. They got veterans over there that know how to play. Nate Solder's a veteran. He should know how to play. Hernandez has been around. He should know how to play.
And with all
these guys should just calm down.
Right, and all these things that we're talking about, the Giants did have opportunities last night. If you think about it, 10-10, they had the Buccaneers in a 3rd and 7, I believe, about 7.5 minutes to go in the second quarter, and Tom Brady's standing back there, like basically making an omelet, and then he throws Rob Gronkowski a 25-yard completion on 3rd down, and then bang, they go down the field for a touchdown.
And Rob Gronkowski is not Rob Gronkowski of 10 years ago.
No.
He's slow and he's lumbering, and he's still a very valuable target. I thought Bradbury had a really rough game last night, but then again, if you're a cornerback and there's no pass rush,
you're screwed eventually
because the rules are not in your favor.
Yeah, and then, of course, the drive to start the second half and then the 4th down and then just complete chaos on the 4th down call. I mean, it's not like the Giants didn't have a shot last night. They did have a shot at a couple of times.
Jason Garrett isn't up in the box, honestly. I mean, I've always felt like unless
might be filling a box by tomorrow.
You're right. I mean, it's unfortunate because if you know him personally, you really like him and you really pull for him. But when the performance and the results are what they are, then unfortunately in this business, somebody's going to end up paying for it. And, the Giant fans are loud. They're disgusted. My friends who are all diehard fans were texting me last night, this is embarrassment. It's hard to watch. I turned it off. I mean, this is all the kind of crap you don't want to have happen if you're the Mara family or the Tisch family. You want your fans engaged, but you want them engaged the way they used to be engaged. And now it's almost like for the last 10 years, they've been hit over the head with an idiot stick, and they're one of the worst franchises in the NFL.
And they wanted no part of this year to be another one of those end-of-the-road, start-over situations. That's not what this year was supposed to be about. This year was to compete for the division, get into the playoffs, take a step forward. Joe Judge in his second year, Daniel Jones in his third year. That's what this year was supposed to be about. And they may have to start over again. And if they have not completed their evaluation of Daniel Jones yet, and they don't know quite sure if he's going to be the quarterback for them or not next year and beyond, then I do think that they need to move on from Jason Garrett and make Freddie Kitchens the offensive coordinator, because if that is really holding him back in any way, I want to know that.
Yeah, I don't know. I want to know that. There are a couple throws last night. It doesn't matter who's calling the plays.
The Steve McClendon interception. I mean, we've seen some bad picks this year. Matthew Stafford had one. Carson Wentz had one. I mean, we've seen some really Mike White in the game against the Bills had a couple. As Steve Levy said, I can't say it better, that's a tough one to explain. That throw from Daniel Jones to Steve McClendon, the defensive tackle for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I can't explain that to save my life.
I'll have to go back and look at the NFL Game Pass. I'll try to do some of it during the show this morning. But there are things that happen in the game where it's really unexplainable. You have to go to the quarterback and say, what did you see? Why did you do that? And you'd like to get that answer in real time so you know exactly what the heck was going on. But plays like that tell me that a quarterback is really nervous. Like he's not calm. He's not feeling the game. He's grinding through it. And I know that they have a good defense, but they were missing their two top corners last night.
Yeah.
And you have your top wide receiver that you just gave all this money to back on the field. And you have Kadarius Toney out there. And by the way, Kadarius Toney, you catch a ball, it's supposed to be a first down, the ball gets ripped out of your hands.
I know, that was terrible. That was a third down.
Yep. Right, you can't have that happen. I mean, so it's not just the quarterback, although the quarterback is the head of the team. He's the guy that brings the energy. He's the guy that's got to make the plays. He's the guy that's got to make the throws when he's under duress. He's got to make the throws when he's not under duress. And that's that performance last night is eye-opening from a negative standpoint, because you have to make a decision in this league as to whether or not you want to pay these guys $20 to $40 million, because it impacts every other aspect of your roster. And then you have to ask yourself, okay, everybody's allowed to have a bad game, but when you're trying to grow in the NFL, too many bad games back to back say who you are as a player. And that's where Daniel Jones is finding himself right now. I thought he played better this year, but then last night, a couple of these throws, a couple of these decisions, whether it's the offensive coordinator's fault or his decision making or his missing guys.
Be all of it.
Like
right?
I'm going to sit here and watch this all 22, and I'll see where there are guys open and he's not seeing them, or he is locked in on a certain player for a certain reason, and he is then just misfiring. And he's misfiring not because he physically can't do it. He's misfiring because he's too nervous to complete the play. And there always has to be a calmness about the player. And unfortunately, last night, I didn't see that from Daniel Jones.
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the red bell so you're notified when we have new content.